I think people have very stereotypical views about who's affected by domestic abuse and also what it is. So I experienced coercive control, my husband being very controlling about my behaviour, about where I went, who I saw, how I did things. He actually didn't like me having a male voice on my sat-nav. That's how extreme it got. But I didn't recognise it as domestic abuse, as what I thought domestic abuse was violence. So when I saw a solicitor, she said to me, "You know this is domestic abuse." And my response was, "But he didn't hit me." And she got a piece of paper out from the Women's Aid Handbook and said, "How many of those behaviours do you recognise?" And I said, "Probably 2/3 of these." And she said, "Well, that's a definition of domestic abuse." And for me, that was really shocking. I didn't know that that's what I was experiencing. And so I want other women to know that it doesn't necessarily have to involve violence. It can be just control, isolating you from people, stopping you doing things, financial abuse, assuming that they're entitled to certain sexual favours, things like that. People have said to me, "Oh, but you're such a strong woman," almost assuming that because I fought it, that I am now a strong woman as a result of going through it. And I say to people, but I was a strong woman at the time. I was a competent professional and I experienced it. So anybody can experience it. So that's part of the reason that I'm quite open about it. And I did find that those stereotypes went across services as well. So when I first sought out help, there were some courses available, but they were only available during the day. And I was working full time and I just wasn't able to access any of those. And that was very frustrating. The police were very good. When we fled that day, a police officer and a PCSO turned up because my husband had told them I'd kidnapped the children. They needed to check the children were okay and that they were operating under their own will. The police officer said to me, "Is he abusive?" Now, if he hadn't asked the question, I probably wouldn't have said anything. So I told him, and then measures were put in place to keep us safe. And over the years, we've had flare-ups, and each time, police have kept us safe. And so I'm really grateful for that. I think the thing that helped me most was meeting another woman who'd been through it. She was the first person that I'd met who'd been through something similar to me. And while I had really supportive friends, until you've been through it, I don't think you can have that real in-depth understanding. Not having to explain, but she just got it, was absolutely crucial. And it was the same for her. I went through 3 years in court after I'd left, and that was actually really traumatic. So I think people think it ends when you leave, and it doesn't. So I ended up with PTSD, which wasn't related to the abuse itself, but was related to the court case afterwards. And I think that's where services could really help, is supporting women as they go through that and understanding how traumatic that can be.